Hey, are you sick of car journos using words like cheap and affordable to describe electric cars with 30-something thousand pound price tags? Am I one of those journos? Well then boy do I have a car for you. This is the new Citroen EC3 and it is genuinely, actually cheap. Not cheap for an electric car, not cheap compared to buying a helicopter. It's cheap. That's it, no buts. Well, the live show ad.
If you like the Fully Charged show, then you'll love our live events.
Next up, we're in Amsterdam for Fully Charged Live Europe on the 24th, 25th and 26th of November.
Get your tickets today.
Right, you have to bear with us today because this is a big, chaotic event and it was not designed for filming. I haven't seen a scrum of French people like that since the South Africans knocked them out of the Rugby World Cup the other day. But we're going to get our elbows out and we're going to make it work because what we have here today is too important not to show you. We're here in Paris to see the fourth generation of this car unveiled, the new EC3, a car that Citroen, by the way, have sold a cool 5.6 million of to date. A very, very popular car. But this new one looks to be the most important C3, maybe the most important Citroen we've ever seen, because of one figure in particular, the price. Now, if I were a clever YouTuber, I would probably save that till right at the end of the video, make you like and subscribe before telling you, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to tell you. Are you ready for this? New Citroen EC3 is going to start at 23,300 euros when it arrives early next year. And that, converted directly into pounds, is less than 20 grand. It's some 10,000 pounds cheaper than its Stellantis siblings. It makes even the MG4 look a bit pricey. Just an astonishing feat. How have they done this? I don't know. Let's go find out. Now, we'll get into the techie bits and the price and the particulars in a moment, but let's just start with a very quick design chat because this car features Citroen's all-new design language and look, new badge as well. And all of this was previewed on the Citroen Ollie concept, a car that you guys really loved when we had a look at it earlier this year. And actually, if you haven't seen that video, I would really encourage you to pause this, go and have a quick look at that, because that concept car gave us so much insight into the future direction of the Citroen brand, not just in terms of design, but in terms of clever thinking, manufacturing processes, and little sneaky tricks to get prices down as low as possible. A lot of good stuff in that car is starting to bleed into production Citroens, starting right here. Back to design though, we've got those headlights which are very Ollie-ish, as are the tail lights, lots of vertical and horizontal-ness going on. Naturally, the C3, like every other car in the world, has evolved into a crossover with this fourth generation, which means you get a bit of extra clearance and some plastic around the wheels and some totally ornamental roof racks on top. I will say that with really small B-segment cars like this, the crossoveriness is a bit more forgivable because the car is higher, the roof is higher, and you do get a bit more space in a fairly small package. All that being said, I think it looks like a little piggy more than anything else. A vaguely interesting looking car, if not an especially beautiful one. I do quite like these though. See these little flashes of colour? There's two in the front and there's two in the C-pillars, and there's a special tool for popping them out and changing them for different colours or various flags, depending on your mood. That's kind of fun. Hey, I'm over here now. I figure if I just move around and ruin everyone's shots equally, no one can get cross with me, right? Look at this one, it's blue. I like this colour. Two-tone roof, that's an option. You can have black or white, a little retro touch. I really like this spec. This, by the way, is the blue of the original Citroen 2CV. There you go, heritage. Numbers, let's talk about some numbers. These are the big ones, okay? These are the important ones. 44 kilowatt hours, that's the battery pack in the Citroen EC3, the only one that you can have, and it's lithium iron phosphate. That little battery is smaller than the one that you get in sister cars from other Stellantis brands like the Jeep Avenger and the Fiat 600e, but because of a very clever, frugal, efficient single motor setup, and because it's relatively light, that little, oh, he's walked across my shot, unbelievable. That little motor is still good for some 199 miles of WLTP range, so really strong efficiency north of 4 miles to the kilowatt hour, more driving purely in the city, of course. That little motor, by the way, when I say small, it's 83 kilowatts. It's like 113 horsepower. It's not a slouch. 0 to 60 in a modest 11 seconds. It can do 80-something miles per hour top speed. Plenty, right? We're talking about an entry-level, cheap as chips car here. That's plenty. And can we just touch on the price again, because I'm still wrapping my bean around it. 23,300 euros on the road price in Europe, across 8 different countries. I think that's a fixed price for the entry-level version of this car. I think I said earlier that's equivalent to less than 20 grand UK. It's a bit more, it's like £20,200, I believe. We don't know for sure the exact price in the UK. It might go up a little tiny bit, but it's just an astonishingly affordable car compared to its rivals in-house within the Stellantis group, and also even ICE cars. Let me give you some examples of what I mean. Jeep Avenger, fabulous thing, drove it recently, 35 odd grand starting price, that's pounds. Fiat 600e, lovely little car, bit cheaper, £33,000 starting price. Vauxhall Mokka-E's just under 31,000. This is 23,300 euros. And when you compare it to the best ICE-powered super minis, that's when it really starts to slam home just how big of a deal this car is. I'll give you some examples. A Volkswagen Polo will cost you about £19,500, entry-level price. Renault Clio is 17.5 grand, so a little bit cheaper than this. But of course, as we know, electric cars are so much cheaper to run and maintain. This is not only on par with the best ICE-powered super minis in terms of price, it's cheaper. I'm honestly surprised it's got any battery at all. I was expecting just a hole in the floor and you put your feet through like Fred Flintstone and run along like that. I'd still be impressed. Right, I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to do the whole interior section sat here in the back of this little 4-metre long car, because look at this space. Citroen is all about comfort. That's their most important pillar of their brand. And comfort isn't all about squashy seats and squashy suspension, which this car certainly does have. It's also about space. You're not comfortable if you don't have room for your arms and legs. And look at all of this. Bear in mind, this is not a bespoke EV architecture. There'll be a petrol version of this car, so where they found this room in the back, I do not know. Bearing in mind, there is a good 300 plus litres of boot behind me as well. It's not titchy back there. So, lots of space. Lovely squashy seats with this chocolate bar pattern filled with extra foam for extra squish for your bum. Likewise, we've got extra squish on the suspension via Citroen's patented hydraulic damping cushion thingies that create what they call a magic carpet ride. They say this is going to be the comfiest B-segment car ever. So very comfortable, very squashy, quite roomy, and beyond that, just really quite simple. New style steering wheel. I like that it's 2-spoke. That's kind of a throwback to Citroens of yesteryear. Big, easy to understand, easy to hit plastic buttons. Everywhere you care to look, it all seems quite familiar. Anyone who's coming out of a petrol-powered Citroen, this is not going to be intimidating. I do like that strip of sofa-ish material across the dash. That keeps things light and cheerful. And this is my favourite thing. You see that central screen there? That, on the base version of this car, is an optional extra. The entry-level EC3, the cheap one, comes with the same thing the Citroen Ami comes with, just a phone holder mounted on the dash and a USB port to charge it. And then you use your phone for music and for navigation and for radio. I love that. It's so simple, but so effective. Not everyone wants a giant touchscreen, so why not offer the car without and get that price down? And I like this as well. This is sort of a safety feature. Look where the gauge cluster is. Citroen says, ooh, we've done away with the gauge cluster. Well, no, it haven't. It's just a slightly different one, placed slightly differently. But where it is just below the eye line of the driver, just below the windscreen, which means that you barely have to look down from the road to get all the information you need. Safety.
Support our Stop Burning Stuff Patreon and help us tackle misinformation about electric vehicles and clean energy.
Tell you what, gang, significant day, significant car. What an absolute bombshell. This thing is out of absolutely nowhere. I'm very interested to hear what you all think of it, but I have a strong suspicion that based on the price alone, your thoughts are going to be positive. Frankly, if the wheels were optional and there was a big knife in the middle of the steering wheel pointing at your face, I'd still be quite tempted just based on that price. And there's still so much more that I want to know about this car. I really want to get into the nitty-gritty of how on earth they've hit this astonishing price when seemingly the Stellantis sibling brands are killing themselves to hit price points 10 grand north of this. How have they done that? How much clever Citroen Ollie thinking has bled into this car in terms of simplified manufacturing, using less components and less parts. I did hear someone from Citroen say that they build these significantly faster than the outgoing Gen 3 C3, so there is clearly a little bit of that going on. But that's something we're going to have to find out down the road when we get our hands on it, when we drive it, and when we find out just how squishy that suspension really is. But for the time being, can we just take a moment to be happy about the fact that the era of the truly cheap electric car has finally arrived? No longer do we have to use words like relatively cheap and affordable to describe 35 grand EVs. I'm quite relieved. So there we go, Citroen EC3. Game changer? Very possibly. And I'll tell you what, if you like this car, you're probably going to like this video. Suspension underneath us with Citroen's own patented hydraulic cushions on each corner. This gentleman in the front, he comes with the car. He's included in the price, I believe.